Faemon, and today I'm sitting here with author T.P. Horton, who is a brilliant author of several books, 14 to be exact. And she has asked me to interview her on one of her books in particular, which is called Daddy's Woman. And in doing so, it will help get her story told. And I would like to say to Ms. Horton, first of all, thank you for thinking of me in interviewing you on this. So tell us, tell a little about yourself first of all. You know, where you're from, your name, where you're from, family.
Alrighty, well, I'm the mother of two. I have a grandbaby. Yay, she's a handful. I'm from the Columbus, Ohio area and traveled down here to Columbus, Georgia, just kind of finding my way and figuring things out as an author and just life in general.
Amen. Okay. Well, tell us briefly what Daddy's Woman is about.
Briefly, Daddy's Woman is simply what it is. The title is self-explanatory. It's really Daddy's Woman, you know. That's what I was growing up, and I just felt like the title alone, being that the situation is so sensitive and it's something that's going on in the world way back when and it's still going on. It's basically about me, a young girl growing up in an abusive, a very abusive home, dealing with the issues of verbal abuse, mental abuse, and physical abuse on all parties in that home. I just said, let me just be real transparent about this book and let me be real transparent with my life so that it may help someone else.
So how old were you when this first happened to you?
My first point of contact, I was about 6 years old.
Okay. So before it happened, did you have any indication that something was happening? Did you have any idea that something was going to happen, or did it just come at you by surprise?
I think being that young, I wasn't looking, you know, or expecting anything to happen in that manner. As I'm older and everything, all the events have occurred, I'd probably say if I had a grown eye, I probably could say yeah, because he was a little more attentive to me, a little more wanting to be protective over me and kind of hover me or shelter me, per se.
Exactly. So did you tell anyone at first?
At first, I didn't tell anybody until it became wrong. I knew that it was wrong, and when I did express these things were going on, there was nothing said or done. So in my telling, I just took it as, okay, well, maybe this is a right thing.
Okay. So what were your thoughts on what had just happened? I mean, the first time that something like that happened to you, what was your thought? You know, being that child, you know, or you know, we know as a child you're gonna think as a child and everything. But given what had happened to you, what was your thought that what went through your mind at that time?
I would say I kind of blacked out at first because I didn't understand it. I was shocked, you know, because this is a man that is supposed to be my father. So it kind of shocked me and it blew me back. And it just put me in a place of just, I was shelled.
Exactly.
And scared, really.
Did you tell him to stop, or were you afraid to tell him to stop?
Well, at first there was no penetration. It was the touching, just the touching in places that it shouldn't be touching.
Right.
And a lot of times it would be during bath time. So I'm like, okay, well maybe he's just giving me my bath.
Exactly.
So I really didn't understand what was going on.
So I'm quite sure you told your mother. What was her first reaction when you first told her?
Well, when I first told my mom, well, when that happened, I was, you know, coerced by him not to tell. This is love. I knew that it was hurting me on the inside not to tell. I also got the thing, I'm going to kill you if you tell. You're never going to see your mom again.
Exactly.
As they always, you know, most predators to say. So what I did, I took, I drew the picture.
Exactly.
I drew a picture of, you know, dad and daughter and just had something pointing. And when I gave it to her, you know, she looked at it and just kind of crumbled it and threw it away. So again, I'm like, okay, well maybe this is acceptable.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. How did you feel about her reaction?
Her reaction, I was hurt.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're always taught our mother, they're our protectors. Even the father in general, we are the people that are put into their lives, you know, to nurture, to help them grow, to help them bloom. But at the same time, these acts are going on, and I can't get the help that I need, you know, or was wanting at that time. So it just had me, and I felt really caged and alone during that.
Okay, you know, a lot of people would ask questions like, okay, anytime something is going on with a child and the parent don't believe them and stuff like that, the first thing they want to say, well, she had to do something. So can you tell us, were you such a bad child that would cause people not to believe you? Had anything happen? I mean, were you that bad of a child?
Actually, I wasn't. I was everybody's favorite. You know, I was that child. I could make you laugh. You know, I would always do something to put a smile on your face. So, and again, that took me back too, because I had those same thoughts. Well, what did I do wrong?
Exactly.
You know, so I was a good kid.
Exactly. Now, I read in your book, believe me, I read your book.
All right now.
And so in reading it, I learned I read about how he would beat on your mother. Why the beatings? Why would he beat her so?
At that time, I was too young to understand, you know, and to this day, I still don't understand. It was just like, nothing she could do was ever right, you know, and there'd be parts of me cheering that she did do right, because I knew that when he would get angry, a beating was coming, and then assault from me on my behalf was coming.
Exactly. Now, knowing that your mother didn't believe you, how did you feel about her love for you? Did you feel she loved you?
At that point, I didn't think that nobody did. You know, I felt like I'm in this world to be punished. You know, it was my punishment. I felt that way for a really long time. Just unloved.
Why would you feel that way? Because of what was happening, maybe?
Because of what was happening, and then, you know, we always hear people say, well, tell somebody. Tell somebody. We're here to protect you, you know, do what you must. And in me doing that, you know, and nothing being done, I was just constricted as, okay, this is my life, you know. And it took me down a long journey, a really long journey.
Now, as this progressed, as it kept going, you know, and you told your mother and stuff like that, but and when you saw that wasn't working for you, did you try tell the police, friends, teacher maybe? You know, a lot of children, if they feel like mama or daddy won't listen, you know, they find confidence in talking to their teacher or their friends. So did you try to tell anybody else?
No, because I was so that fear. And what you have to understand, this man, his voice alone, you know, it would shake you, you know, just shaking. He didn't even have to be yelling, and just to hear his voice alone, it would be very shaking. So I didn't tell anybody. I just didn't. I didn't want anybody to get hurt. And then at this point, I didn't want nobody to go to jail, because remember, he planted that thing inside of me. If you tell, nobody's going to be here. You're going to be by yourself. Your mom's not going to be here. You know, just, you know, coercing me in that evil manner. You know, your sisters, they're not going to be here. You're just going to be here all by yourself. And I just took that. And it's sad because I took that as a protection for my family as well.
Now, in interviewing you, and first of all, in reading this book and interviewing you, I made a decision, and I told you that I would be asking questions that I fear that other people was going to listen, because when it comes out to stuff like this, you know, you're going to have those yays and you're going to have those naysayers.
Of course. So
a lot of people would be asking, okay, as a person, you got into your teenage years. Now, people always look at, well, what a man do to a child when they're a child and stuff like that. But once you got to be a teenager now, one question that they would ask, now, you knew better. At some point, you had to know this was wrong. You didn't have to be a teenager. Why did you continue?
Well, as ugly as it is, I'm always a transparent person. That's why I think this interview is important, because a lot of times people who have been molested or abused as a child, sometimes they'll linger on to that, I've been abused, I've been molested, and my life is this way, and it has to be this way. And they never get that healing that they need. But I take it, and even in this moment, to tell the truth in answering that question, at some point it just becomes too late. The edifice of a woman is awakening me. By this time, I stopped fighting, and I started liking that. So now it's just like too late. So now I'm like, okay, if I tell my parents are leaving, if I tell now, my lover is leaving.
Right.
You know, and that's just the raw truth.
Exactly.
And it's raw and uncut. And a lot of women, they don't want to get to the depths of that. When it goes on for so long like that, your body is awakened to the hormones.
Exactly.
So I know the act is wrong, but I know the feeling that the act is giving me.
Now, also I read in your book that he introduced you to being with women. Okay. What kind of experience was that for you?
And even in that, he abused her as well. And in that act in particular, I did it as a protection for her. I didn't want her to get beat because I knew what was coming. You know, it was like deja vu playing all over again. And in that act, I saw the fear in her eyes. And I said, okay, if I don't, he might beat her.
Right.
If I do, he might beat me, you know, in the same sense. So I just went with that flow.
Exactly. Now, you said you had sisters. Did you tell them? Did they know what was going on? They was living in the house with you, right?
Yes.
Did they know what was going on?
I believe at that when because we were so little, when I was 6 and we were like 5 years apart, another one 6 years apart. In that particular era, I don't think they did know what was going on. Exactly. But as time progressed and we got older and we would have those visits, I believe at some point they did know what was going on. Well, one of my sisters in particular. But sometimes when the person that you love is your hero and these things are being, the truth is being, I'm going to say things, the truth is being told about it, you don't want to believe that.
Exactly.
Even though you know that it's true.
Okay. Now, in your book, you said it was like your body yearned for him, and also yearned for sex itself. Because after you grew, then you started getting experience with other guys. And how was that with you? I mean, was it multiple guys? I mean, did you feel in any ways that it was a demonic thing going on with you sexually? Because I've heard about, you know, sex demons and stuff like that, and especially when it comes to child molestation, because it can take a form of its own within that person, a child's mind, and then it grows on them and becomes part of them. So would you say sexually, were you experiencing anything demonic?
I think that it would be safe to say yes, and that was from the moment my innocence was taken. I think that seed was deposited into me in that act from the very first time that it started. A lot of people, they shun it, but I do believe it's very demonic. It's also a generational curse, you know, and sometimes we tend to accept those curses and run with them. But of course, I believe that it was demonic. A lot of times, you know, you have that urge, and sometimes you go scratch that itch. A lot of times, me and my sexuality and the promiscuousness, it only came from the act of younger gentlemen just didn't do anything. So even though after, because once I started getting my period, he stopped messing with me. And then it was one time at 17, and he stopped messing with me. So now I'm like, okay, who's going to love me now? So then there's this search. Exactly. And a search went on, but the search went on with older men. It's kind of like he did that to me. So even though I'm young, I'm seeking and searching these older men because I think that the younger men wouldn't satisfy what my body was craving for. And a lot of times it was a lot of being taken advantage of because, you know, men, they know better. Exactly. You know, they know better. I've dated older men that just knew better. Exactly. You know.
Well, and given what your promiscuousness, I'm quite sure that there was a time when there were other females or women, you know, other women, especially older women, you know, they got a name for women.
Of course.
That's being promiscuous. So did you experience any of that?
Of course. Yeah, I had an experience with that in a sense. Because a lot of times, a woman couldn't do me no good. I just wanted to, I mean, that's what happens. You want to be around men. You just want to be around them. That's your cup of tea. And so a lot of times when I wasn't being sexually, you know, entertaining with men, I was still entertaining them with their company.
Right.
So it was kind of like, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't.
Exactly.
And what you have to understand is a lot of growing up in that home, it was a drug home as well.
Right, right.
And so
right.
a lot of times, a lot of my acts of sexuality, it had a lot to do with surviving.
Exactly.
Keeping food on the table, keeping the white folks from not coming in and taking us away. Because remember, that seed was planted. That's all I ever heard, okay?
Exactly.
If you tell, you know, even with my mom's addiction and stuff, if you tell, some of you know, y'all not going to be together.
Exactly.
So I took it upon myself to take the role as a mother to my sisters. And in that, I did any and everything I could to keep the lights on, to keep food on the table. Just many of things that at that time I may have been 12, 13, shouldn't have to do.
Exactly. Exactly. So do you think by your mother being on drugs, do you think that would blind her from the truth of what was going on?
If I were to give her the benefit of the doubt, I would say yes.
Right.
But even then, there's a part of me that's saying there has to be some knowledge.
Yes, yes. Because that would be something that a lot of people would say from the time it started to the time it stopped, didn't. I mean, to the time it stopped, people would be wondering, you know, she had to know something. So do you think she knew and blocked it or just chose to block it on her own? You know what I'm saying? Do you think she knew all along or do you think she just felt it later? Because, you know, you would hate to think Mama knew it in the beginning. Anybody would. So that was my thought. It was, do you think she ever knew? Did she know? For how long?
In my heart, I do. But it's kind of like a question that I'll never truly get the answer to. You know, and that's kind of one of the things that even now I battle with. You know, as a how could you just not protect me?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Now, although we know we can't talk about this whole book in this interview, but just to go over a few things. One thing, when did you realize enough is enough? Even though you've gotten used to it, I mean, you've gotten used to it, you looked for it, but when did you realize, you know what, enough is enough? Because it is wrong. So, enough is enough. I'm done.
And it would be the last time that we had saw him, I might have been, right, the last time we did it, I was going to 17. And like I said, he would come and get us because they had the divorce separation, so he still had visitation rights. And what he would do is he would go get a room and stuff. And when I saw him try to take my baby sister, and I went over there and I could just see everything flashing, you know, what I went through. When I just saw it, I was like, don't put her through this, you know. It's not right. I even went as far as to just take me, you know what I'm saying? And after it was over with, and I stopped that, I never saw him again until about 5 years ago.
Okay. Now, one thing in particular I read in your book also, another thing really, there were times when you got so used to what he was doing to you, you would get mad when he was with your mother. So is it safe to say you gained feelings for this man?
I would say then too young to understand, because when we stayed in that house at that particular time, it was from 6 to like 10. So I knew that he may have beat my mother that night. She'd go to work. We'll have that act. She'll come home. And I hear her, you know, making those same sounds. He's doing the same thing he did with her to me not that long ago. So it did make me rebel, you know, and now as I'm older, I knew it was just straight out jealousy. He was just going to call a spade a spade. I would get upset and I would get angry.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, given what you know now, you know, if you knew then what you know now, what action do you think should have been taken?
To tell. You know, to really, really, if this person's not listening, go to this person. Just go knock, go knock, go knock. You know, the Bible tells us, no, just knocking the door shall be open. I just, you know, I would have taken that route to just knock, knock, knock. Even if it meant being stripped out of that home. You know,
Exactly.
now that I grow up, as I've grown up, I kind of would have rather been stripped out of the home than to just deal with that. Because it brought so much hardship. So much.
Exactly. So, you think he should have been punished?
Yeah, I think he should have been punished. Again, a lot of times, even with concerning myself, at that time, I just didn't understand. And to really, like, older, as you get older, why not tell? I think a lot of it was shame. You know, because it's a shame.
Exactly.
And then, even though it wasn't my fault, you know, it's still a shame.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to hear the crowd, the whispers in the room.
Exactly.
And it just was that.
Exactly. Now, you know, given like today's time, stuff people did years ago, people are now coming up with making them pay. Give you an example, Bill Cosby. You think about Bill Cosby, stuff that the women's claim that he did years ago. Now they're bringing it up, and they want to see him punished for some years ago stuff. Do you think? Have you ever thought about that? Or do you believe in just letting bygone be bygone? I mean, what is your thought on that? Would you want to see him be punished now for what he did to you then, if, you know, it can be proven and stuff? So, would you?
I think at this time and point in my life, punishment is already reaping it. You know, I would just rather, like, the vindication for me is just being able to forgive and move forward with your life. And I did it, and it took a lot of strength, because there were some dark days in my life, and then again it comes along with having that true courage. I wore the burden of that, you know, because as we say, at some point you knew it was wrong. You know, at some point I just knew it was wrong.
Exactly.
But again, it was just too late.
Exactly.
You know?
In your book, you said you doubted God.
Yeah.
You was mad at him.
Of course.
Exactly. You mad at him because you felt like God turned his back on you.
I did.
But through all of it, through all of that, God changed you.
Yes, he did.
Am I right?
He did.
So,
he did.
What are your take on that?
My take on that is, and people may get some backlash about this, but I truly believe that it's the people.
Amen.
God is not a God like that. Some things we have to go through. Some things we got to pay for the sins of those before us. And that's just the truth. You know, the act was wrong, the deed was wrong, you know, my innocence was taken, I was stripped from a lot. But at the same time, I found God, you know, I found God through all that, and He was my true healing. I've never been to a therapist, but He sustained my mind through it all, you know, and I had my times with drug addictions, trying to cope it, and alcoholism, just trying to smother it, and it wasn't, I was just trying to smother the dirtiness of it, because there will be times where I would just feel so dirty, but at the same time, you know, a little bit of I grew angry, because I was like, if everybody had played their part,
exactly,
I wouldn't be out here trying to make something shake for my siblings, children that aren't mine, you know, to be able to live in a comfortable home, you know. So a lot is, we say promiscuous, I've done some things, some strange things for a piece of change, but it wasn't because I wanted to.
Exactly. Exactly. So finally, you got some believers, but at the same time, you got backlash from family. They, when the truth came out, they shunned you.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
A part of me is hurt, but I knew that doing this book, it was for my healing. But a part of me was so hurt, I felt like, sometimes I feel like I should have let sleeping dogs lie and just not even wrote the book.
Right.
But at the same time, I needed to get that all off my chest in order to move forward.
Exactly.
And so a lot of me was very hurt, you know. Seeing, like I said, my the father of my younger sister, he's the one who did it, and he's so her hero. So who wants to hear this Superman is sick and perverted, and Superman got an issue, but he's been your Superman all your life.
Exactly.
So a lot of that, we bumped heads and we clashed. And so it's really just me against the world, me and my girls, you know, and my little honey, God bless me with, you know.
Because that was what I was going to be asked you about. Although through your book you can read about how promiscuous you were, did you ever think you're going to find true love?
At one, I have an aunt and uncle, and they've been married for like 27 years. And they were high school sweethearts. And I always looked at them, you know, maybe one day that's what I would want. But I know in the state that I was in, I wasn't going to get that.
Exactly.
You know, we just have to be real. A lot of women, I want this good man and I want this good man, but you have to be that woman.
Exactly.
You cannot be living a peasant's life expecting for a king to come and pick you up. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So I had to grow in a lot of areas. But I always believed, you know, even though love hurt me, even though it wasn't love, you know, in my mind it was love. But once I got out of the dysfunctional thinking of it, and I know better that that was not love, that was very dysfunctional. You know, I was caught in that cycle, but I'm glad that I didn't stay in that cycle, and I always believed that love will come.
Okay. Now, so is it safe to say that the reason you wrote this book was for your healing?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, that's why I didn't write it to get no fame. I didn't write it to get no brownie points. I didn't write it to get nobody's sympathy.
See?
I wrote it to get somebody saved, you know, that you can come out of this, you know. You aren't the only one, you don't have to stay there.
Exactly.
You know?
Because then I'm going to ask, if today, if you knew of a situation or a little girl or whatever was going through, what would be your advice to her today on this, on something like that? If you knew somebody that was going through what you went through, what would be your advice to that child?
My advice would be open your mouth. Open your mouth. Because if you don't open your mouth and tell, what you're going to have is a life of misery. You are your hero. Sometimes you have to be your own hero. If don't nobody want to save you, save yourself. And that's what I would tell them, tell somebody. Number two, well, number one, I would really say, that ain't your fault.
Exactly, exactly.
That is not your fault.
Exactly.
And that's what I would tell them, open your mouth, and then I will put that catch-22 on it. If you don't, you're going to have a lifetime of misery. You're going to be in low self-esteem. You're going to find yourself in this cycle that's going to seem never-ending. You're going to label anybody just because you think that's all that you're able to have. You're going to be out here just caught up in a world, in a sex world, you know? And that's what it is. You're going to be caught in this sex world. And truly, truly, nothing is gained out of sex.
Exactly.
Sex is an act of love. You know, it's an act of love between two people, two consensual people. Not everybody and their mama.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So what did your family, what would they thought on you writing this book?
Oh, they were mad.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's when I come to say, that's when I knew somebody knew what was going on with little K-Man. I never said no, I never called nobody's name in that book.
Exactly.
Never, never, never. But when everybody got to win and start reading it, people gonna put two and two together. And guess what? They knew. They just didn't come rescue me.
So what do you think they're gonna think about this interview?
At this point, I don't care.
Exactly.
You know, I love them. You know, at this point in my life, I've lived so much trying to please everybody, trying to make everybody happy, allowing people to live through me, and it cost me nothing but millions of bricks that I had to first tear down and then allow to reconstruct myself. And I'm never doing that to myself again. Never.
I got two more questions, and I think we're gonna pretty much wrap this up. One of my questions is, all the hurt that you went through, where's the hurt?
Actually, I can truly say that I'm healed. And I know that I'm healed. I can hear his name. I don't get angry. I can look at my mother and tell her I still love her. And mean it.
Exactly.
And mean it with no malice,
Exactly.
no bitterness, you know. And that's a part of that healing process. You know you've been healed when you can look at somebody that done you dirty, done you dirty, and not get aroused and anger.
For my last word, pretty much like that one, because what I wanted was to know was when you look back now, at the age you are now, so you know it's been some years.
Yes.
You look back and you think about all the hurt, the pain, the molesting, the crime, the beatings. How are you today? I mean, when you look back on all that, what are your thoughts? What?
Well, I get excited, you know, because I truly believe, like I said, God was really my source through all this. And I am a new creature. I'm a new creature. I'm a new, that person is somebody that even I look back and don't even know, you know, because now I am who I'm supposed to be, you know. I'm not walking in the shadows anymore, you know. I'm not in a place of restriction. I'm free. And I love the woman that God is molding and that He is creating and that He is allowing me to express, you know, this story in the way that it was expressed, because it's still going on in households on a daily. Got scared, you know, in its phases. You got the little girl that may be going through it, scared, don't know what to do, don't know what to say. And again, to that I said, open your mouth still. And then you got the teenage part of me that was there, you know, it was wrong, but just, you know, going with the motions, getting that feeling. And I would tell her, pump your brakes.
Exactly.
Pump your brakes.
Exactly. Now I want you to do me one favor.
All right.
I want you to look into that camera and you tell your viewers, because it will be seen. It will be aired on YouTube and whatever else you may decide. But you look into that camera and you tell your viewers how you're feeling. Miss Horton, Author T.P. Horton, who are you today?
All right. Well, I'm a woman of virtue, of purpose. I'm a woman who went from going through the changes who now integrity matters to me, honor matters to me, commitment matters to me. Everything that was stripped and was taken, it is now God gave it back. And to be walking with your head held up, held high to the sky, it's a beautiful blessing and it's a beautiful thing. And I give God the glory for that, because truly, if you don't have nobody around you like to know, which I didn't, I had to figure life out on my own. And it took some lessons, and it took some hurts, and it took some pain, and it took more pain, and it took more pain, and the pain was there. But even through those struggles, I always knew that I did not want to be where I was at back then. And I used that as a tool to keep climbing, even in those times where I did fall back. You know, there were times I went into celibacy just for me for about 5 years, and even in falling back into the sex, and then when I went into it, I did it with a purpose. Now we all know 9 times out of 10, everybody ain't gonna wait till they get married to have sex. That's just the truth. That's God's way, but we ain't gonna wait. But if you're going to do those things, let it be with somebody who loves you, who appreciates you, who's going to pour out into you, who's going to starve your insecurities and starve your fears and feed your soul. And that's exactly what happened with God on my side. He did that for me, and it's just a testimony. It's just a testimony. It's a testimony.
So we can truly say you did find love.
I did. I did.
Yes, yes.
I did.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. What I would like to say is, since I came to know you, that was before I read her book, and I had no idea, because my thing is, you see people every day, you have no idea what's going on with them. I would see you, wasn't no way in the world for me to know this. But then when I read your book, oh my God, I read your book, but your book showed me God did a thing in you.
Oh, yes.
He did a miracle. I will tell the world, you are a living testimony.
Man.
You are a living testimony. I thank God for our meeting. I thank God I met you. I read this book and I got to know you.
Yes.
I got to know you. I read all the hurt, but I didn't see it there. See, that's how I knew there was a change. God changed you. And I'm a firm believer, when God changed you, you are changed.
Oh, yeah.
So people, get the book. You want to get to know Author T.P. Horton, get the book. You'll be glad you did. And I want to say thank you for allowing me this opportunity of interviewing you. I thank God for you. I pray for you. I pray that God continue to strengthen you in your life, on your journey, wherever God leads you. I pray that that's where you end up. It's what God wants for you. That's where you'll be. I thank you. I love you. And I really do appreciate you for this opportunity.
Amen. Thank you
God
so
bless.
much. Yes.
You're now listening to Sylvester Beats.